What's up, Mortgage Coach community? It is the first day of July, 2019, and I am interviewing Denise Donoghue. What's up, Denise?
Hey, Dave, what's going on?
The mortgage nerd. I think that background is updated since last time I saw you. I love that.
Yeah, who would have thought Pottery Barn would come out with something I didn't even have to spend a bunch of money to get it made. So of course I saw it and I bought it.
Yeah, well, nice job on that. I love it. So it's been about a year since I last interviewed you. We titled the last interview Story Selling with Denise Donoghue. There'll be a link down below. Check it out. Denise rocks. So Denise, a lot of people don't know you. For anybody who doesn't, she does a lot of loans, 27 loans in June, right?
Yep, 27 and 112 year to date.
So you're killing it. She has done over 1,000 total cost analysis. So she's serious about delivering the best possible advice-based experience to families. So why don't we just start with, why do you use Mortgage Coach so much and so often? And then let's get in some strategies for July. Like, what are you going to do this year or this month?
Well, as soon as I saw and heard about the total cost analysis, you guys do a great job in the community with top producers like Wally and Dan Keller. And, I really learned it through the YouTube channel. And I thought to myself, there's no way I could be in this business and not utilize a tool like this, because the education that you can provide to a client by dissecting the numbers is what's needed, quite frankly, in our country, in our community. There's a lack of financial awareness and knowledge, and it's because a lot of times the data that gets delivered to clients is so overwhelming that it's really hard to understand and comprehend. So as a loan officer, I really feel like we quarterback a financial position like a financial advisor, if not more, because we get to see people in their most vulnerable state. You see their credit, their debts, their assets. So by utilizing this program, I can deliver numbers and facts and turn an emotional conversation into a factual, which is always easier when you can have a conversation based on facts and numbers versus dealing with emotions and anxiety of, well, I thought rates were at 3.875. Okay, well, let me pull up Rate Watch and let me do a total cost analysis and show you where rates are and what they've been doing. So it's invaluable to me. I don't know how I could honestly sleep at night not showing people the education and the numbers with a total cost analysis, knowing that it's out there, because I just feel like it would be such a disservice to clients.
Wow. Well, I love two things. You said it, because it's better for people in our community and in our nation. And I'm with you. I think just a couple minutes of a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis is truly enlightening to people. And not only do you get more referrals and you convert, so it's good for you, it's good for the family to be enlightened, and it doesn't take more time. So let's talk about the types of strategies you're using Mortgage Coach for. Why don't you kind of high level, let's start with the rent versus own, how you're using that to help families. And then once you've given the high level on it, I'll ask you to share your screen and walk us through an example.
Yeah. So many of us use the rent versus own when we have a client kind of on the hook, so to speak. But I've been utilizing a different approach. The game has changed a little bit, and if you can give leads back to real estate agents, that tends to make agents pretty happy. And so what I've done is I've created a marketing strategy where I've targeted first-time home buyers, people who are renting. I read a statistic that over 60% of buyers right now are first-time home buyers. So I want to cast my net in that pond, so to speak. And so what I've done is I run Facebook targeted ads, Instagram ads, and what I do is I'm really highlighting to these first-time home buyers that probably have not thought about buying a home, but I'm showcasing things like, if you delay buying a home, it could cost you $100,000, and here's why. And I'll record a video, I'll do an Instagram live or a Facebook live, and I've got just a generic scenario, right, of anybody that could be renting. And in my marketplace, I use obviously a rent payment that would be equivalent to where our marketplace is. And so I'm doing videos multiple times a week and putting it on the platforms that shows, hey, here's what it looks like if you're renting, and here's what it looks like if you're owning. By the way, click on the link below, answer these 10 questions, and I can prepare a home buying budget for you just like this one, so we can talk your numbers, not just these ones. But I'm leading with fear. You know, fear is a motivating factor for people. And when you're marketing to the average population where you don't have an actual client scenario in front of you, one of the ways to convert them is to present a fear to them that may have not been in their mind. And so, you know, the sooner we can get people owning homes and owning real estate, the faster they accumulate wealth. And that's why I call myself the mortgage nerd, is I literally want to help every single one of my clients, especially young clients, accumulate wealth in a different way that maybe our parents and grandparents didn't have the opportunity to do, or just quite frankly didn't have the education to do. So I try to get in front of that market, and I've been utilizing a total cost analysis with rent versus own by doing live videos on Facebook and Instagram.
So Mortgage Coach community, I have an example of one of them right here. This is in our Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. I took this, you tagged me. I think this was an example of one of them that you did. And when you watch this, first of all, I recommend you watch it. I think it's great educational for you, but I also don't want to look at it and go, oh, I need to do the exact same thing, you know, or like, how did you, you know, what camera did you use? What, you know, like, one thing I like about that is pretty low tech. I mean, obviously you're just using your iPhone, by the way, let me make sure. What were you using to record this?
Just my iPhone.
Got it. And then you were like looking at you, talking at the camera, and then you just reversed the camera down to your laptop and you showed the numbers. Exactly. So I thought from a story selling perspective, it was really effective. Now, I see a lot of loan officers where they'll show their video and then they'll pull up a TCA, like a desktop share. I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. What works is what's right. Test different approaches. And then hopefully another takeaway you just got is she's not like just doing one thing. You know, this is like a conversation she's having in her local market, and it's probably different types of videos, different types of mediums, having the same conversation, which is you can build wealth with real estate by buying a home. Let me show you. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, it's spot on. And I do believe in the multi-channel approach of doing raw footage, you know, with just an iPhone. I've got a camera obviously on my computer that I use to do exactly what you're saying, where I flip it so it's a little bit easier to read the screen. But there's psychology behind using the different platforms, because sometimes I like for it to look raw. For the ladies out there, sometimes I do it with a ball cap. I don't have to have my hair done and makeup done every time. Sometimes the authentic videos resonate better because I feel compelled to share this with you guys. And by that, it's a true feeling because I'm not all dolled up and on stage, so to speak. So I definitely use multi-channels for it. And to me, it's just get the education out there, get the information out there.
The more you do it,
yeah,
the better you'll get. So why don't you share your screen and walk us through an example of a rent versus own total cost analysis. Everyone who's watching this, I am posting this live. This interview is taking place on July 1st. Tomorrow, July 2nd, I'm going to be having Jacob Gibbs as our guest. If you're watching this after the fact, I'll put a link to this down below, but it's going to be mortgage strategies. And we're going to be teaching you guys how to do strategies like this. But walk us through, just give us 2-3 minutes. You know, don't spend 10 minutes on this, but give us a few minutes.
Okay, so very high level. One of the first things I always do is I switch the view so that it's a little bit easier to read. But I highlight the summary. So in this particular case, I was highlighting the fact that if you're currently paying rent of $1,850, I'm going to show you how you can buy a $250,000 home with 3% down with a payment just a smidge higher than rent, or I'll showcase the fact that we can remove this PMI insurance and then the payment is right in line with where you are renting wise. These are estimates for my marketplace. So I would not recommend doing anything that's not, relative to your market. And so I show them, you've got 3 ways that you can accumulate wealth through real estate. The first one is through the principal that you're paying into your mortgage. And so I bring up this screen and I show them, I come down here and I show them this rent versus principal paid. And depending on how I want to set this up, I usually use the default of 60 months. Sometimes I go out to 84 months. But for all intents and purposes, I bring this up and I say that the breakdown of your mortgage payment consists of principal, interest, taxes, insurance, sometimes PMI. And so it's like having a built-in savings account. Whereas with your rent payment, obviously there's no money that goes back in your pocket, that goes straight to your landlord. So in a 60-month analysis, you would have paid into your rent about $117,000, whereas the principal portion that you paid, that portion of your payment, that first bucket at the end of 60 months or 5 years, you would have accumulated $19,000 in just bucket 1 of 3 of accumulating wealth, which is the most common bucket that people talk about. And then I go into bucket 2 is obviously the tax benefit. And so mortgage interest is tax deductible. So it's kind of like having good debt. For example, if you have a 4.25% interest rate on the mortgage, a portion of that can be written off in your taxes. And so the bucket number 2 is what I call the tax benefit bucket. And you'll see here that that's about $22,333 in a tax benefit that you get by owning a home that you would not get in renting. So again, I go into a little bit more detail, but I say, so right now of the 2 buckets, you're sitting roughly at $40,000 more in wealth than what you would be sitting at if you continue to rent. But the third bucket is my favorite. And although not guaranteed, statistics tells us that on average, real estate appreciates nationally 3.6%. Here in our Plano, Frisco, Dallas bubble, we've been well over that. And so typically what I do is I say, but since we've been over it, let's be conservative. And I literally get my computer out, I get my calculator out. Yes, I still use this calculator. And I do it organically with them so that they can see it because it just resonates better. So I say, if you had a $250,000 house and it appreciates by 3%, that would be $7,500. I take my calculator, I show the camera, and I say, here's $7,500. Let's multiply that by 5 years. That gives you an accumulation of $37,000, which isn't exact, but again, we're trying to keep it brief and simple. And so I say that's another almost another $40,000 that you accumulate in that third bucket, which is called the appreciation bucket. And sometimes, depending on my video, I will literally explain to them, that's like saying, because some people don't understand appreciation. So I say that's like buying this marker for $1 and selling it for $2. My appreciation would be $1. So sometimes I actually break it down to that level, and I say, so if you buy a house at $250,000 in 5 years, you could likely sell it for around $300,000. So we're talking $19,000 in a principal reduction, $22,000 in interest, and third bucket of a conservative appreciation figure of roughly $37,000. That's close to $80,000 in wealth you accumulated in 5 years versus the $117,000 that you would pay into just rent. That's not doing anything for you. And so in my marketing ad, or my hook, so to speak, would be, I can show you how to save. I can show you how to make $80,000 in 5 years. Here's how. And so I use tactics like that, and I'll record videos like this so that they can see, here's what it looks like in 5 years. Now let's fast forward this to your net worth in 15 years. And you show people these numbers. This is where, again, you're quantifying the wealth. Everybody talks, oh, it's smarter to own, oh, you should own. But usually that message is coming from a loan officer or a real estate agent. And quite frankly, as an everyday consumer, our opinions might be a little biased. So I try to shift an emotional conversation into a factual conversation. And when you see the numbers flat in front of you, it's really easy to have a tactical conversation with someone and take out the emotions. It doesn't matter what my interest rate is. Your interest rate on renting is 100% for all I care, because we're talking $362,000 that could pay off people's student loans, that can get you into retirement. And so showing these numbers flat in people's face, this is the fear that's going to move the needle, that maybe they weren't thinking of buying a home this year, but now that they've spent 2 minutes on my video that I've presented and they've started to see the numbers, it starts to light a fire under their butt, where now they're calling me like, okay, yeah, I'll fill out your 10 questions to figure out what my home buying budget could be. And now I've got leads that I can send to my agents.
Love it. And this is transformational value. Look at the cost over 3 buckets, but then always show the lifetime transformation, that 4th bucket of wealth over time. And by the way, do you think realtors would like this? Like, if you were a loan officer and their job is to sell the lifestyle, how many bedrooms, what school district, and when you bring the logic, so now logic and emotion connects, that creates urgency, that creates value. Now you're helping create a better experience for the family. You're helping the family make a better decision. 2 other words I want you guys to remember: personalization and localization. Notice that that's what she did through this whole thing. I'm going to personalize this based off your assumptions. You know, what rate are you going to get? What down payment are you going to be able to have? What do you believe the appreciation rate is going to be? That's localization to your market. So you're bringing both of these things to play. And then look at the top, personally branded. I love the way you're very intentional about your photo. You're intentional about the brand, you know, the team that you're building. So Denise, you are like the poster child of building local personal brand and using technology super smart. I love it. Anything else on this before we show another one?
No, other than what you touched on, is that your agents love this. And I love the component where you can just come up here to the menu and print this out very easily. It's got all your information on here. A lot of times I'll use my CRM, and going back to that multi-channel approach, is I'll send this out to my real estate agents and say, you know, this just helped one of our agents solidify a client to go out and start shopping this weekend. That's part of the storytelling, selling, is I'm using this to gain traction on social media, to let people know that I break down the numbers. We break down the logic. I don't just speak the same language that a lot of other loan officers who don't use this total cost analysis or the rent versus own use. And so it's that differentiating factor that's different, and it's informative. And I think that's what our communities are thirsting for. Is there's plenty of white noise and there's plenty of crap, especially on social media. But when you can teach somebody something that they didn't know before, it just makes you different. And so that's what I am doing, from both the consumer and then to the real estate agents. When agents see this, they're like, holy cow. And you teach them how to sell you to their clients as, well, Denise will put together a rent versus own. I know you said you're thinking of renting in a year, but I always tell clients, what are you going to do that's so drastically different in your lifestyle that you're going to be able to save up another $6,000? Because let's be real, they're not going to be able to do that. Otherwise, they would have already done so. And so even if it means putting them into a grant loan or a bond loan to get assistance with the down payment, it's still a wiser option for them. But you've got to be able to move that needle from emotion to logic. And with this, you can so easily, you know. Can't be overwhelming. It's got to be easily laid out, like how this is.
So a couple other notes, and then let's pull up another strategy. In the upper right-hand corner, you notice that one person's viewing it. I'm viewing it on my side, but you could be having multiple people view this, and then you can drive the experience. We call that Mortgage Coach Live. And then you notice there's a Start Now button, guys. So the way Denise is using this, she's delivering it, you know, in front of the app. She's using it to create opportunities, to educate in front of the funnel, generate leads. You could mention in your video, hey, click the Start Now button and answer my 10 questions. You could have that go to anything from your online app that's customized to your online 1003. Whatever you want, you can add that to Mortgage Coach. So you can use this as a lead generation platform. And then, of course, you can also use it, well, you should be using it. Every single family that gets a mortgage should get a total cost analysis. So Denise, why don't you pull up the other strategy? Tell us what we're looking at, you know, give us the story behind it. I love that. Everything you do is a story with a strategy. So right. What's the story? What's the strategy?
This is what I do. This is a non-negotiable on my team. This is just one of many strategies that we have where we use Encompass at our mortgage company, and we use Optimal Blue. When we pull up rates, we let clients know that you have a range of options. Sometimes they're as low as 3.25% and as high as 6%. Oftentimes you have well over 20 rate options available to you, and my job as a mortgage banker is to show you those options and then run an analysis for you so we can determine which option is the best for you. So at this stage in our process, we're typically when a client goes under contract and we're looking at locking in an interest rate. And so what we'll do is we'll prepare all 4 interest rate options. We'll use a range based on the profiling we did during pre-qualification of maybe they're funds to closing sensitive, whatever your client scenario is, you want to make sure you have that narrowed down before you're, in my opinion, pitching rates to them. But so I look at my Optimal Blue, I see all my rate options. We take 4 that make the most sense for that client's needs. We put them together here on the products, and then we prepare an analysis for them that says, okay, Mr. Customer, you've got these 22 options. Psychologically, I want them to see the lowest option and the highest, in part because if my competitor is offering a rate in the 3s, they saw that I offer that same rate, but now they've been informed that there's likely points involved to get that, and does that make sense? We don't know until you run the numbers. And so typically what I do is, again, I change this to this tab here so that it comes across on the video a little bit better. And I'll first show them the rate board where they can see other options, and then I tell them I picked these 4. I go over the 4 rate options, and I'm highlighting this on my screen with them so that they can follow along super easy. I show them the payments. I show them that basically from rate to rate, we're talking a difference of $17 a month. Most people think it's hundreds of dollars. It's $17. And so what we're analyzing is these funds to close. If let's say it's $1,000 difference, and I do the same thing, by the way, is I say, okay, we notice that there's a $1,200 difference from this option to this one. We know it saves us $17 a month. So the quick, simple math is it's going to take you 70 months of saving $17 a month to break even on that investment. That's the simple math. What I'm going to do is show you the deeper analysis in just a second. But it gives them an idea of, oh, well, maybe that $1,200 investment makes sense or it doesn't. I'm starting to walk them through that psychological process. So I go through the numbers here. I pull up the more info tab so they can see, yes, we're talking taxes, insurance, everything, because we all know they ask, is that everything? So I address that with them there. We see the monthly payment difference. We go over this. And then I really highlight this short-term savings. I typically adjust it to 84 months because that right now is statistically the average I look at their age of how long that they're going to be in this mortgage. And so I'll say to them at this point in time, most loan officers will show you the 30-year cost, but quite frankly, we don't live in our homes and carry those mortgages for 30 years anymore. So by that loan officer doing that, they're over dramatizing the savings, and it's super important that we get laser focused on the time horizon, because that's one of the biggest variables in determining what interest rate makes the most sense for you and your family. Because, and I use this from Wally, my job's to help you gain the biggest equity gap so that you can have money for your next home purchase.
Real quick, I want to insert and remind everybody, she's personalizing, she's localizing. Also, she mentioned Wally Elibiary. I'm going to put a link down below. Wally interviewed you. I don't know if it was a year ago, 2 years ago. I think it was in between. I think it was probably about 14, 15 months ago. So there'll be, if you want to hear a whole 1 hour top producer interview with Denise Donoghue, interviewed by Wally Elibiary, link down below, check it out.
Thank you.
Keep it going.
So he talks about that gap. My job's to build that gap for you, that equity gap, so you have more money to put into your next house. And so we go over these numbers here where I show them this. I sometimes call this the rate of return calculator. And the reason being is because what we're measuring is, does that $1,200 investment, what kind of rate of return does that get you by the end of 7 years? With this option, it's 711 here and then here. And I do click on this more info tab. We do go through what this looks like. I tell them this is as if I fast forward you in each loan option by 7 years, and to the penny, we can calculate a total cost analysis side by side to make an easy, logical decision versus an emotional decision of, well, I think the 4% sounds better than that 4.5%. I don't want to make an emotional decision when it comes to finances, and I don't like my clients to either, which is why I invest in strategies like this. And so we'll go over these numbers. And then depending on, obviously this option, you can pick which option you want down here. I probably spend the most time on my interest rate loan strategies options here. And I'll tell you, when clients see this, again, psychologically, I like to use at least 4 options. I believe in option selling. Before I get to this, I show them the entire rate board. And so if they go on lendingtree.com or a competitor's website and they say, well, this place is advertising a 3.5%. Well, yeah, remember I showed you that is an option for you, but now I'm educating them that option probably means a break even at 24 years. And like you told me during the pre-qualification, you intend to be in this home between 4 to 5 years or 6 to 7 years. And so again, it's super important that we run an analysis based on a realistic time frame for you and your family. If I have to, I'll extend this out and say, I'll show you what happens if I change this to 120 months. Or sometimes I double it. If I do a 60-month analysis, I'll go to a 10-year analysis, and I show them that these numbers don't just double, because that would be simple math. It's not, this is a total cost analysis that's taking into account loan balances and amortization schedules, and the numbers don't just double. So when I show them that, again, you're just educating them and taking them on that psychological journey of understanding the numbers in a short, easy to understand process that I basically say, so which rate do you want? And then they tell me the rate option they want, and we lock it in and we send disclosures. And so again, it just makes that whole rate conversation super easy, and they're owning that decision because now they're equipped with the knowledge to own that decision and feel good about it.
So a couple things. So this is homes in escrow, and we're getting ready to lock in a loan. I do want to remind you guys a very common strategy further in front of the funnel at pre-approval is to show different options with different rates. And sometimes if they're shopping online lenders, make sure you put in the 1-2 point option, because big banks and online lenders put in, that is an option. But here's the concept. Denise said something, option selling. People are shopping. The question is, are they grinding you? And when are they grinding you? Are they waiting until you've done the work and you put the home in escrow? And so she's being very strategic, very thoughtful. You can provide a lot of options. Another thing I want to remind everybody, let's say you get to where you're getting grinded and the other lender has legit, 1/4 to 3/8% better. You can now, you've trained them, you've taught them, they're asking you, hey, will you put this in the total cost analysis? And I did an interview with Jason Nutzman, who manages about 80 loan officers in the Northwest. And he teaches this strategy where, hey, we'll put in online lender, big bank in a column. And let's just say it's 40 months, $40 a month in difference, better. He goes, and then I show him over 5 years. And he says, if it's less than $5,000 over 5 years, they want to do it with me. I mean, the education I provided, the value I provided. Now, when it starts to get to be more than $5,000 in savings, he's like, maybe we need to do a price exception, but it's less of a price exception. So remember, what we're talking about here is education, teaching people options, helping them make the best decision, and you're positioning yourself well that if you do get in that rate shopping conversation, you are now, your best weapon is not a price exception. Your best weapon is not begging for the business. Your best weapon is education and helping them look at things in a very logical format. So Denise, anything else on this strategy before we go into wrap up on today's interview?
No, just that I am using these, I run a total cost analysis several times, obviously during the pre-qualification when we prepare, should you go FHA or conventional. So they're seeing these charts. We're coining total cost analysis. To your point, they start asking you things, which is great. So at pre-qualification, at locking the interest rate, on their annual home anniversary every single year, on refinances, I mean, on almost any type of decision-making process throughout the journey of the home, even post-close, we're running the total cost analysis. That is definitely the differentiator in our business. Is you got to call Denise, she'll run the numbers for you. So they're used to seeing the charts, and they begin to like the charts and embrace the charts because it keeps their anxiety down of being able to make an educational decision. So that's just all.
Love it. So I'm going to go, if you can stop sharing your screen real quick. I want to start sharing mine. I want to go into a wrap-up mode here. So confirm that you can see my screen, Denise.
I can see you.
All right. Well, you'll see my screen here in just a second. All right. So a couple things, guys. First of all, be engaged in our YouTube channel. I am kicking off a contest today. Listen to this interview I did with Brittany Hodak, the founder of Superfan. And we're going to, don't know all the rewards we're going to have, but we're going to have a lot of rewards for the best example of sharing a review or a testimonial on social media. So participate in this contest. All you need to do is you need to share an example of you promoting and advertising a customer review or testimonial. And I think it is bestimonial, hashtag it bestimonial. Also, we will be posting more examples in our Facebook group from this conversation. I want to see how you guys are doing what Denise is doing, and you're creating video content on social media to educate families on now's the time to buy. While I do believe everybody, if you have past customers, you should be going after those refis in a way that's super balanced and smart. But I also think, like, if I had two focuses this month, I would say, hey, service my past customers. I love the interview we did with Dan Keller on Friday. He talked about how, you know what, that's my night job. My day job is supporting my real estate agents, and my night job is doing, refis and supporting my clients for life. So check out that interview. But I want to see a lot of activity in Mortgage Coach on educating families and homeowners on the power of buying a home and buying it now. And I want to see examples of using your testimonials in social media. So Denise, as we wrap this up, I have one last question. I want you to go back before you ever closed 10 loans in a single month. I don't know how long it took you to go from I'm in the mortgage business till I had my first month that I closed 10 loans in a single month. But what advice would you give to your any loan officer that's new or any loan officer that hasn't had their first month where they closed 10 loans? What advice would you give them?
So how I got to my 10 is I did open house crashing. And that was every single weekend I would go and I'd make it a point to meet 5 new real estate agents that had to talk to me because they were stuck in a house and they couldn't go anywhere. And I knew if I could just get them in front of me, then I could sell them. That was very labor intensive, and that was kind of before all this social media came about. So honestly, what I would do is I would go to the YouTube channel and I would look at what a lot of the top producers are doing. I would record videos and have my audience, instead of be the end consumer, I would make the end consumer a real estate agent, and I would structure videos and analysis based on how I can help you gain more buyers, how I can help you. That's how I would target them. And I would send an email that says, if you have sellers that are on the fence, I ran an analysis that's what's the cost of waiting 1 year to buy a home. If interest rates go up 1% and appreciation is up 4%, here's the cost of waiting 1 year. I hope this helps you sell more real estate. Whether they're looking to sell or buy, but you get this kind of analysis and you get these videos in front of the hands of agents. It's not, I guarantee you their current loan officers aren't doing that. They might get the, basic CRM, here's my loan program, here's this loan, but nobody's running actual analysis like this. And this is what will help a client get off the fence to either buy or sell. Maybe it's time to get that one next bedroom. Maybe it's time to get to downsize, whatever it is. I would get a calendar and say, okay, once a week, I'm going to commit to recording a video of real life scenarios that could happen for your agents. You've got to start thinking like a real estate agent. So helping them themselves say, if you've been daydreaming about a house with a pool, I'll show you how you can buy $40,000 more in purchase price with 5% down and keep your payment the same. Maybe you do a buyout PMI option, so, but you're combining the two, mortgage strategy with real estate, and that's going to give them leverage to go sell you, and it's going to be a differentiating factor that other loan officers aren't doing.
You know why I love this so much? It's because you're also becoming better in the process. Like you're creating content that could generate leads that's different, and you're getting better. Like you are becoming a mortgage strategist. So I love that advice. I also love it because I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach. In order to do what Denise said, you need to be a master with Mortgage Coach. And I love the fact that you mentioned watch some of our YouTube channels. We've got great videos on paperless open houses, how realtors can actually get more leads at the open house and how they can convert more with Mortgage Coach in a paperless open house. So Denise, you killed it. I think we went over our 20-minute mark, but I think it was worth every minute of it. Folks, if you got any value from this, give it a like, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're watching this on Facebook, share it with your mortgage friends. For all you managers out there, this is worth a sales meeting. Like make sure that your loan officers go through this content, make sure that they are creating rent versus own, and make sure they're using it in a way that's helping realtors get leads. Because I like the way you kicked off. Realtors, they like that. And if you want to win and make the next 10 years better than the last 10 years, y'all need to get on it. Denise, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for all that you do for us. You really are. You're like the community that you put together, all these interviews. I know it takes a lot of time. And so I just want to thank you.
Appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you guys.